Yep.
All right. So, Tushar, thank you for sparing time for us, and I'm so glad to have you on Captain's Tale today.
My pleasure, Ria. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
It's a wonderful opportunity for me because this is for the first time I'm conducting such kind of interview on
Okay.
video. Otherwise, I used to conduct go personally and meet the founders and CEOs. So this is the first time I'm virtually connecting with the sub founder. Thank you for the opportunity.
But what about in COVID? In COVID, you must be connecting offline, no?
No, actually, I was on maternity leave that time.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, so
Got
I
it.
have returned after a long gap.
Okay.
Uh, so something new. So I've been learning some new things after returning, and it's completely a different experience. But today, let's just talk about your experience, and I would
Sure.
really like to know about Enthoo, how it got seeded, and your entrepreneurship journey, and everything about it.
Definitely. So from where do we start?
Begin from the very start, how it got conceived, how you
Okay.
got
So
Enthoo.
Enthu is a COVID was not a good time, but I shouldn't say this, but it turned out to be a defining moment for Enthu.ai because the seed of Enthu was conceived at the peak of COVID. So what happened before Enthu.ai, me and my co-founder, we were already doing a SaaS startup in the field of search engine optimization. And when COVID hit, naturally our revenue was also hit and
Yeah,
times were jittery. We were not sure what to do. And we thought that, okay, everyone is at home. So let's start calling people. Let's start talking to them, discussing, pitching the software. I'm talking about the earlier software. Okay, let's start pitching about the software that, okay, you can buy this, or we know COVID is there. So what's the best way to approach? Right. So what we did was we hired a couple of people full time who were supposed to do calling to our prospects.
okay.
Now we thought that the voice process is all about calling, put bodies on the line and everything would be sorted. That is not what voice process is. So 1 month into the process, we realized we were stupid to think about that, right? And what happens in voice process is that uh, we know. So voice process, any process, whenever you are connecting with a customer, right? So contact center, as we call it, whenever you are connecting with a customer, you need to coach your agents, right?
Hmm.
So what was happening was we knew that, okay, my agents are dialing, let's say, 100 numbers today, right? Their
Hmm.
average call duration is, let's say, 2 minutes, right? They are converting XYZ leads. So I knew what was happening before the call. I knew what was happening after the call. But to, actually move the needle, which was not moving, I didn't know what was happening inside the call, right? And
Yeah.
that is where the problem started. And we realized that voice process is not as simple as it sounds. We need to coach our agents that this is the way you need to pitch the product. This is the way when your competitor objection comes, when, let's say, objection around pricing comes. So I have to get into the conversations. Okay.
Yes.
So that was the trigger point. And as a founder, I started listening to the conversations and coaching my agents. But very soon I realized I can't devote time to this. So I hired a full-time person, put him on coaching. And again, the problem was the same. When you, it's a very manual and labor intensive work. Let's say we are having a conversation together. I put a person, I give him this recording and I say him that, okay, bring insights from this conversation. That guy will listen to an entire conversation. Maybe he listens to it 2 3 times, then says that, okay, this could have been better, that could have been better. So reviewing a 5-minute call actually takes 20 25 minutes. So this guy who is listening a conversation, one, he is doing everything manually, labor intensive process. Two, my agent is, let's say, trying to connect with 100 people, right?
Hmm.
This QA guy, he has a lot of work to do. So he can listen to, let's say, 2 or 3 conversations a day, not more than that,
Hmm.
maybe 5 conversations, right? So sampling is very low. The connection rate is high, or let's say I'm making a couple of connections, but I'm just listening to not even a handful of conversations, right? The
Yeah.
best case scenario is 6 calls per agent per month. So
Hmm.
contact centers, they listen to 6 calls of one agent in the entire month. And then in a month, a typical agent makes around, 1500 conversations. So that is what the rate is. So given all these scenarios, plus there is no analytics involved. When I listen to the calls, when I give feedback, I'll just write my feedback on an Excel sheet, in a Word document, over email. So that was the trigger point that, boss, this is not right. Right, the way I am coaching my agents, even if I hire 3 quality people, I am not going to reach there, right,
Yeah.
where I want to reach. And that was the point when we started looking for solutions in the market. And when we started looking at the solutions, most of the solutions, they are just transcription engines. So what they do is they convert your call into a transcript and they put it in your CRM or anywhere where you want. If we talk about coaching, there are some very good solutions around coaching, but most of them are around live coaching. So for example, we are talking to each other and I'm selling something to you, so I'll have real time inputs saying that, Tushar, do this, do that. You are talking, you are you know you are blabbering or something, you are using a lot of filler words and so on. So most of the tools that we saw, they were around live coaching. They were not around, I want an offline coaching in bulk, so I want to quality monitor my calls in bulk. So we couldn't find a lot of solutions. The ones that were there, they were they were not suited for the SMB industry. And that was the point when we thought that, okay, let's try it out as a project. And what started as a project turned into a full-time opportunity, so much that we shut down our previous product and we thought that we'll deploy all our energy to Enthu.ai. And I think that was a good decision that we took.
Exactly, that was really a good decision. But Tushar, I would really like to know here that there are a few consumers who want to directly talk to a person, and they don't want to just chat who's not somebody is not there. So
Right.
how do you handle that kind of situation, or
So
what's your solution to that?
our software is not a, you don't make calls through Enthu.ai.
Okay.
Enthu.ai is, you are still making calls, or let's say a customer is calling to your support unit. He will be directly connected with the agent itself. Enthu runs in background. It takes the conversation, processes it, and gives actionable insights that when it comes to, let's say, agent by the name of Ria, this is what she has been doing across her calls. Let's say when it comes to pricing related aspects, these are the coaching opportunities for Ria. When it comes to, let's say, pitching the company, this is how Ria pitches and this is what her opportunity areas are. So it's a quality monitoring, evaluation, and coaching platform. That's what Enthu.ai is. Does that answer your question, by the way, or was
Yes,
I off the
yes,
mark?
perfectly. No, perfectly. Actually, my idea was like when I try to reach out some customer care center, and in return I get to hear any
Yeah,
AI speech, or
right,
the answers are already prescribed in it, and I just
right.
go through the process. It is sometimes disappointing
Yes.
for me as a
So,
consumer.
Ria, there are a lot of people who confuse us with this thing. A lot of people think we are an IVR, a lot of people think we are a bot. We are none of these. We help real humans improve the quality of their conversations, right? So we run in background. We are not a replacement for your agents. Agents are still talking to, customers. In the background, we collate insights and we give those insights to these, supervisors and quality guys who are tasked to improve the performance of these agents. That's what the purpose of Enthu.ai is.
I think this is perfectly a good tool for new businesses and startups, even for the old ones, because
Mhm.
there have been a lot of times when I talk about Amazon or Flipkart, these big giants,
Yes,
even we face these kind of problems. So
right.
if a person is reaching out and we have the analytics and data for the company to analyze and
Yes.
take actionable decisions, so it's really something new to me, and I had this is
Yeah.
for the first time I'm coming across something of this sort.
So yeah, so you got it right, Ria. There are a lot of use cases to it. I'll talk about the use cases that we are solving right now. So
Hmm.
first use case that we are solving, it's a contact center use case. Let's say, so by the way, we are focused on the US and Canadian market, North American market, right? So let's say a call comes for, there's a service called live answering, where I
Yeah.
call a dental clinic. It's a clinic which has, it's a chain of 50 clinics. So the calls don't go to the dental clinic. It goes to a contact center where it's an outsourced contact center, right?
Hmm.
So these guys take the calls for appointments, book appointments, and then put them in the CRM and do everything, right? And you have to ensure that the calls that you have outsourced as a dental clinic, right? These calls convey my brand the way I do, right? Which means the salutation should be right, the opening should be right, the questions that I asked should be right. You should refer the
Hmm.
CRM, and don't ask stupid questions like, I mean, you already have the phone number of the guy. Just put it in the CRM and tell him that I'm drawing out your data, rather than asking him, can you repeat your number so that I can draw out your data, right? So
Exactly.
it's a very, very transactional use case, which appears to us as transactional, but if you think from a perspective of a brand, it's an establishment of a brand. It's the brand proposition and the way you project your brand to your customers. And so this is the first thing. Second, customer support. So for example, we are solving customer support for e-commerce, for SaaS companies, where you have a lot of requests through phone coming into your contact center. And these can be across anything, software is down, or a pricing issue, or an upgrade issue, or XYZ invoicing issue. So can you see how your agent is giving the solutions? So Enthu can bucket all these categories, that you have 5 type of problems or issues coming into your contact center. When it comes to, let's say, Tushar, he handles the pricing and invoicing thing well, but he's not able to maybe address the XYZ thing. So all those insights can be derived, and you can then start coaching your agents. So this is another use case. Telemarketing is another very big use case. Most of us, no matter whether we like it or not, the sales of complex products, it still happens over the first call, second call still happens. It's a phone based selling. Credit
Yeah.
cards, insurance policies,
Yes.
right? You don't want to cancel your flight, but you want to reschedule your flight, right? You will always call the contact center, because there is
Yeah.
so much, what we say, so much subjectivity involved. So there are still a lot of scenarios where you want to talk to a live agent, money deducted from your account, right? Not reaching the end customer. So a lot of people ask me, Tushar, call centers is a dying industry. I also used to think the same, but we are grossly wrong. Call center is not a declining industry; it's a mature industry and a growing industry, right? So yeah, these are the some of the use cases that we are uh, solving right now.
Uh, so apart from use cases, like, okay, we most of the businesses go with such kind of support to their customers.
Yes.
Which segments or which businesses specifically do you think can use the Enthu, the power of Enthu to upgrade their processes? I mean, like,
See,
yes, there's
yes.
healthcare,
Right. So see,
there is.
very clearly for call centers, right, where you outsource your calling function, whether it's a customer support or outbound or inbound, whatever your calling process is, call centers are doing this quality process, which I explained to you, right? You go to a call center of 5 people, or you go to
Hmm,
a call center of 5,000 people, right? They have a.
hmm.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Priya,
Yes.
you there? Yeah. What I was saying was that for call centers, they are already deploying this process of quality management, right? Now, how they do quality is, there is a person who is sitting, right? As I said, listening to conversations, filling out Excel sheets. All data until unless a call center is a visionary call center, all the data. Let's say I listened to your conversation, I evaluated it, and I want to give feedback to you. What a typical contact center call center would do is, they will record all this data either on an email or on an Excel sheet. So which means i
Hmm,
have been i have been giving you feedback for the past 6 months. I want to collate that data and generate insights. I can't do that,
hmm.
right? So I would say the best use case is for call centers, because the process is already in place. What we are doing is, we are automating this process, we are making this process more efficient. We are helping the people do better in their jobs. These people are supervisors and quality guys,
All right.
right?
Now, your product is AI based,
Yes.
right? So a lot of things are being talked about the AI, then the future trends, but to some extent, it is still considered as a
Yes.
trend
Yep.
and not a mainstream technology. And
Right.
this goes for the other related technologies as well. So,
Yes.
what do you think? How much time this will take uh, for the people or the businesses to incorporate AI and other related technologies as a mainstream technology? Because if
uh,
I see from a consumer or from outside, I feel like, yeah, people are still taking it as a trend. We still talk about AI as a trend. and not a mainstream technology? What's your opinion?
I think it's already a mainstream technology in pockets. So, for example, if we talk about Alexa, it's a mainstream technology, right? If I mean, at least in our friend circle, in our socio-economic, the the class where we are the middle class, you will find Google devices, Alexa devices, right? It's nothing but speech AI, right? It's conversational intelligence. I ask Alexa something and it responds back. It's AI, right? So things are there in pockets. If you talk about businesses, the chatbots, the
Uh,
AI.
Tushar, your voice is breaking a lot. I'm sorry to interrupt,
Okay.
Tushar, but your voice is breaking a lot.
Yeah, I am. Is it still breaking or it's better, little better?
It's a
It's
little
still
better.
it's little
It's
better.
better.
Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see if it gets any better now.
Yeah.
Feel free to stop me if I'm again, breaking in between. Is it better, by the
Yeah,
way?
sure. Yes, it's better, much
Right.
better.
So what I was saying was that when it comes to, it's a mainstream technology, already a mainstream technology in bits and pieces. For example, Alexa, right? For example,
Hmm.
Google Voice.
Hmm.
Most of our friends, most of the people we know, they have those devices, right? There are a lot of searches that we are doing, Google searches on phones. So mainstream for consumers to an extent. For
Hmm.
businesses, again, I think it's happening. Chatbots is one example, right? Chatbots are becoming intelligent. Conversation AI solutions for speech AI, right? They are getting an adoption. They are getting adopted. The problem is AI still can't replace humans. And when people start exploring these AI technologies, they think that now I have the technology, I can, replace my humans. That's not the case. You can cut them down. You can make them better. If you have a 10% team, maybe 3 people can do the work of these 10 people, right? But you can't completely
Hmm.
put these people out. And that is where the problem starts. People think that AI is a panacea, it can do everything and I don't need humans. That's not going to happen. As a case in point, I'll tell you. So let's say a 3 year old child, if you show him a picture of a cat with 100% accuracy, he can tell you that this is a cat, right? This cat is, let's say, drinking milk, and this cat is, it's a fat cat, for example, right, with brown strips and XYZ. If you show the same picture to computer, to AI, there is a probability with which the AI can tell you that this is a cat. A 3 year old child can, with 100% accuracy, tell.
Tushar,
uh,
I'm again stopping. I'm really very sorry for
okay,
that.
no
Your video
worries.
is getting distorted a bit,
Okay,
and
shall I
your
try?
voice is, although it is coming clear.
What I'll do is I'll switch my connection. Give me a moment.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Ria, I think this is the biggest disadvantage of working from home.
Exactly. That's why I don't like, when we were working with I was working with Pankaj, and we were discussing about like we should conduct calls. The biggest thing that I face, like when my husband does the calls, and I feel like, okay, the connection is again going, coming and back. It's the fluctuation just
Right.
distracts the whole moment,
Yeah.
the whole conversation. So
And
this
and
is
the
one of the
biggest,
drawbacks.
yeah, the biggest use, not the biggest, but one of the use case which all our customers are using, right? All customer, not even a single one is missing on this. We build movements for them, right? So basically, I'll use the layman time language. In every conversation, we tell them insights that where the connection went bad, right? And we are not looking at the connection, we are looking at the, the conversation, and then we derive that, okay, this was a bad call from connection perspective. So very soon we are planning to publish insights that, X% of the calls, and putting them across days and months and everything. So every call has this problem. Yeah, and every customer is facing this problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So talking about problems and challenges, I would really like to know what challenges did you face initially in your entrepreneurship journey, personally as well as professionally. What were the things that you found? These are the biggest obstacle, and we need to overcome them first to
Yes,
get
I
established.
think, yeah, with Enthu.ai, the good thing that happened was that I was struggling in my previous business. right? So struggling because of COVID, but there were struggles and there were a lot of learnings because of that struggle, right? The earlier product which I talked about. So in Enthu.ai, we did a lot of things right. But if I talk about entrepreneurship as a whole, the starting from, the first product that we started in 2019, the biggest journey was that it's not the product that you sell. So for a initial, you don't focus on the product when you are starting. You focus on your sales, marketing, partnerships right from day one. They, for engineers, most of us are engineers, right? Who get into products. The point is, I'll build a perfect product and then I'll start selling it. We did the same mistake with the first product. We kept on waiting for the perfect moment, which never came, and eventually COVID happened, right? So all the traction that we had built till that point, we couldn't capitalize on that too well, right? Because of the COVID
Yeah.
thing. But had we focused on sales, marketing, revenue generation, right? Whatever it is, if we were just focus on that, get the customer, don't worry about revenue. I think, don't worry about the revenue, build the right product, right? So there is no right or wrong thing. Your customer defines whether it's a right or wrong product. So don't spend too much time building the product. Build an MVP. With Enthu.ai, we build our, MVP, the base, the use case. We built it in flat 40-45 days, and then we launched in the market. Launched in the market means we started talking to customers, taking their feedback, showing that what we have built and what our vision is, where we want to go, right? And that's what the journey is. I think we did this one thing, we did it right, and that's why we were able to taste success early on in Entho.
Okay. And do you think that somewhere or the other your life experiences played a role in overcoming these obstacles, or what were the personal skills did you feel that they came handy when you were struggling with these issues?
Yeah, so I think as an entrepreneur, you see, you learn a lot of skills. So my biggest learning was negotiation skills, right? So negotiation is an important part of business. Earlier, working with enterprises, or the roles that I have been into, there was no negotiation required. I used to consider negotiation as a conflict, right?
Okay.
Only when I got into entrepreneurship, I realized that it's negotiation, it's not conflict. Yeah, there is no personal ego, right? I have to leave it aside and I have to negotiate. I have to convince the person to get onto my terms. At the same time, I have to leave some aspects and align with his terms, right? The best I can do. So that was one big learning. And it's not just about sales or something, right? Negotiation comes at every stage. You are negotiating with an employee for a deadline. You are negotiating with your co-founder for XYZ things. So negotiation is the biggest thing. Second, I have never been into sales. I'm a marketing person. I have never been into, so product as a user. I understand. I realize now that product is something that naturally comes to me, right? I haven't learned it, but being into this journey, I realized that I understand my customer really well. I am good in taking insights. I'm good in driving information from my customer, right? And I'm good in using that information and putting that into my product. So sales is another thing. I've never been into sales, but I realized what sales is. Sales is not about pushing. Sales is about, again, getting into the shoes of my customer and showing him a solution that solves his problem. I think these are life skills. I won't say these are business skills. These are all life skills which I'm also using in my, you know, day-to-day journey, whether it's personal or professional, all these skills are getting used. Negotiating with your wife, the biggest thing, right? So, so
Well,
that's
I won't say negotiation. That was really cool thing to talk about, negotiating with your wife. It's yes,
so see,
exactly.
negotiation, what I'm saying is, I used to have my ego in between whenever negotiation was there earlier, right? Now I realize it's a negotiation. It's getting onto common ground. That's what negotiation is. It's not conflicting. Other person is not fighting, and neither should I do. So I was an immature person to do that, and that was my very big learning, in my initial days of entrepreneurship.
This is what I realized just now, that yes, we negotiate in our personal relationships, and it's not just about conflicting, or difference of opinions doesn't matter when
Yeah.
you are trying to collaborate with people, when you're trying
Yes.
to make things work out. So
Right.
yes, I this is one point that I just realized right now, just while conversing with you.
Yeah.
a great point for me, I would say. Moving forward, Tushar, I would like to know that when we talk about, like, previously we're talking about COVID things and
Yeah.
the market, the change happened, the businesses transformed, and a lot of businesses just failed to pass on the COVID phase and the lockdown phase. So, do you think that inclination is not just about the businesses, but also from consumers' perspective? And to what extent do you think that consumers are now ready to take technology to next
Right.
level in their lives?
See, ultimately, even if it's not about business adopting, right? Obviously, obviously it's
Yeah.
about business adopting, but business will be quicker to adopt if my consumer is adopting, right? If my consumer is adapting, if the
Yeah.
trends are changing, businesses have to adapt. Otherwise, they will perish. Like my, previous business, it wasn't. We had to educate the customer a lot. We were not able to make revenue, so we shut it down, right? We pivoted. So businesses will go if they are not ready to pivot, but that pivot comes with consumers, right? If my trends are changing. Now, talking about the thing, what good thing happened in COVID was, at least for tech businesses, digital trends have changed. What adoption
Hmm.
we were expecting, not we as in we, but what adoption the experts were expecting in 10 years,
Hmm.
that adoption happened in
Hmm.
2 years, right? So for
Hmm.
businesses like ours, for businesses like, technology related businesses, the adoption just zoomed. So for example, Zoom, we are talking about Zoom's adoption. You see the share price, I think, doubled or tripled. Why? Because everyone is on Zoom right now, right? In our
Exactly.
case, so see, our direct relationship is with the calling softwares. So
Hmm.
softwares like Zoom, Aircall, Ring Central, right? Their adoption have zoomed like anything because agents have gone remote. Earlier, I would have an in-house dialing system within my premises, using which my agents would dial and do everything. Overnight, they have to use
Hmm.
switch to Aircall, Ring Centrals, and Zooms of the world, right? So the adoption increased, and
Hmm.
when the adoption of these softwares increase, adoption of software like ours, they also increase, right? Because the customer has taken the first step that, okay, I need to get onto a VoIP platform. Then he starts realizing, okay, let
Hmm.
me see what other technologies are built on top of VoIP. So the first technology they come out with is
Hmm.
conversation AI. I can take the recording,
Hmm.
I can give this recording to Entu.ai, and they can process it, and they can further help me increase the productivity, or let's say increase the quality of output of my agent who is all remote, right? So those trends happened overnight for us. Those adoptions happened overnight, and that was a good thing.
Uh, uh, Now, when you talk about remote working, like, you said that even the sales representatives and the sales team have to work from the home. It was a completely transformational phase for everyone.
Yes. Yep.
uh, do you think that remote working or work from home should continue, or what is your opinion about remote working when it comes to scenarios like, or use cases that you
Yep.
shared with us?
Right. I think the future is hybrid working. Remote work will stay, but it's going to be hybrid. For example, in our case, we are totally in hybrid, not hybrid, we are totally in remote work, but we are moving to a hybrid model where, from next week onwards, I am opening office. We work out of a co-working space. Me and my another, anyone who wants to come, they come. Anyone who is fine. At the end of the day, we realize that the same output, even better output, comes when people work from home, right? If the person is comfortable working from home and they can deliver the same output, I am not even concerned whether they work from home or from office, right? The costs are same in a lot of ways. The costs, there are savings in costs, right? I'm not
Hmm.
spending in infrastructure cost. If you talk about indirect cost, the time wastage is not there, which used to happen in travel. If you ask me,
Hmm.
now I'm missing that travel aspect, right? But when things stabilize, I now know that maybe 3 days I can work from office and 3 days I would prefer to work from home. I will keep all my meetings on
Hmm.
these 3 days. When I'm working from home, I'll save time, and for the rest 3 days I'll go to office, talk to my, you know engage with other companies there, with my employees, whoever is in the office, and that would help the team dynamics. So you're right, to build team dynamics, face to face interaction is still important, but yes, things can be done remote as well. In fact, sales also, I'll give you a recent example. Yesterday,
Hmm.
I was talking to a customer. It's The customer is based out of the same city. So he
Hmm.
requested that if I can drive down to his office. And I
Hmm.
politely declined that, okay, let's have the first conversation over Zoom. Right?
Hmm.
If we see that we can take it forward or something, then I'll be very happy to come to your office and give you an in-person demo. But let's spend some time here. Right? It's not that I don't want to go and meet him. If I have full idea and not idea, but I have full intention to go and meet him. But if let's say things don't go well, I'll go to network and I'll go and meet him to network. But
Yeah.
from the sales perspective, everything happened over Zoom call, right? We have discussed the next steps and he has already shared his data and we'll take it forward. So practically I don't have any reason to go, but I'll still go because he's from the same city and I want to network and build a better relationship. So I hope you got your answers when I'll meet and when I won't. So business, I don't think it will be interrupted because of no business got interrupted. Those who had to, okay, a lot of business got interrupted, but those tech businesses, they didn't get interrupted. They shifted to the new trend right away.
Of the businesses like the hospitality sector or
Yeah,
travel sector
right.
suffered
That
a
was
bit.
bad. I mean, you feel bad for them. So that's why I corrected my statement. Businesses got impacted, but the right thing is tech businesses, they changed. They changed. I mean, those who that could change, they evolved.
Exactly. And I have seen even the businesses that have adopted new technologies, whether they were depending upon the footfall on
Yep.
their store, like retail store or any, say, restaurant also. I have seen in my city, Delhi, only some of the restaurant they have adopted new marketing channels and they have adopted new technologies to
Right.
converse, to have a conversation with their consumers, and they have survived that phase. Maybe
Correct.
not to a great extent, maybe their revenue would have decreased,
You
but
were, yeah, sorry, Ria, please go on. Sorry
no,
to
no, no, please go
it
ahead.
it brings me to another important aspect. You said what you learned what were your learnings. The biggest learning
Yeah.
of a business, the biggest thing that a business should do is survive. Right? You
Hmm.
keep surviving, and one day you become big. Right?
Hmm.
So you don't become big, and you don't become a household name in one single day. So that
Hmm.
is what I think we managed to get that. We started with one software, right? We couldn't take it to the next level. We pivoted, we survived, we started Enthu.ai, we again survived. The funds were low, we did something, we got some funding push. Again, we survived, and now the revenue started building. The product is getting adopted, right? So survival is a very important trait. It's an important trait. So when you start, focus on survival. Rather, throughout your journey, focus on survival. Right? Those who
Exactly.
survive,
That's
there is
the
one
goal.
thing. Human race, I was reading it somewhere. Human race evolved because of the survivors. Right? Those who survived, they took the
Yes,
human race forward. Those who perished, they perished. No one knows about them. Right? So that's the
exactly.
basic factor of evolution. That's how evolution happens, because of survivors. That's what you should focus on.
Exactly. Even the nature follows the same rule.
Yeah.
Uh, if you want to grow and evolve further. All right, Tushar, you just now mentioned that there were like the funding part. So for Entu, what from where did you collect the funds, or whether you would be comfortable in talking about the funding of your entrepreneurship
Yeah, definitely.
venture?
We received our initial funding when we were even at the idea stage. We received a
Hmm.
strategic funding from Appit Simple Infotech. It's a company in India only, but and
Hmm.
they run two very popular brands. One is Call Hippo, which is a VoIP software, a software to make calls. Okay, and another product they run is Software Suggest.
Okay.
Right. So why they invested? Because Enthu was a strategic investment. Enthu is a strategic investment for them.
Hmm.
It's their platform, VoIP, right? And Enthu sits on top of it. So by the way, we don't just work with Call Hippo, we work with another 20 players. But Call Hippo was a strategic investment where we were able to experiment very fast with a VoIP platform. Right. So that was one thing. And then that was a idea stage investment. And then this year in the month of July, I raised a small friends and family round. So that's why I said surviving is very important. right? So I raised a friends and family round, and now I'm looking at a seed round.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's great to know. When it comes to seeding, I think when I just talk up to new startups, and I have a few clients, my previous clients, they were just trying to establish their
Mhm.
business. And they found that seeding is one of the most important thing that can help their business to grow, but
Yeah.
they fail to go ahead with that part.
Right.
Uh, I mean, like I'm not very expert in that fundraising part, but that's what I have realized, that seeding is significant, but it is most difficult thing. Do you
Yep.
also think the same?
Even Ria, I am also inexperienced in that part because the seed fund I am yet to raise. I just raised a friends and family and the initial round, right? So friends and family, you get it on your face value, right? When I started, I thought that no one will give me money, but
Sorry to interrupt you, Tushar,
yeah.
again. Tushar, sorry to interrupt you again, but your video again has stopped at my end.
Okay.
It's like distorted.
Okay, no
Um,
worries. I'll start again. So I would say I am also. It's still bad or it's better now.
Your audio is very clear,
Okay.
but your video is getting distorted.
Okay. So what do we do? I have switched both the
I,
internets. I can't do anything else now.
I think I'm getting my answers as an audio. We should continue with that.
Sure.
But wherever your audio will also go away
Sure.
from my end, I'll let you know.
Sure. So your question was about funding. I would say even I am not an
Yeah.
expert in funding, right?
Huh.
My recent funding round was on my face value, right? The friends and family. When I
Yeah.
went ahead and asked my friends for money, I thought no one would give me money. But eventually it happened that everyone I asked for money, everyone funded me. Right.
That's
So I mean, whenever you get into the market, you realize that what your face value is. Are you able to convince people with your story or not? And friends and family is purely your standing, right? So luckily I had a good standing with my friends, with my family, and they had faith in me and that they backed me. So I think I have only this experience to say. The rest of the things which we are talking, raising an institutional round, I am still trying it out. I'm still not successful.
I wish you all the very best for that seeding part, because
Mhm.
I will learn few things from you only after you have
Yeah.
done that successfully, and I
Hmm.
wish you all the best for that.
Thank
Now
you.
coming to your like you said, the family and friends, the personal relationships help you in gaining that fund
Yeah.
you required. What is your personal relationship with Enthu?
Personal relationship, I think Enthu and I am not I mean, it's one and the same thing. So even how do I answer that? It's an interesting question. I think there is no segregation. It's a balance act. There is no segregation, right? So it's not that now Enthu is over and now family or personal time starts. It's
Okay.
okay. I am not doing Enthu right now. I am with my daughter, let's say. Okay.
Huh.
And a customer pings, and I have to manage this situation where I either convince my wife that you take care of her, or I convince my kid that you also come with me. We'll take the call together, right? And I have to answer that call where, let's say, an issue or client wants to discuss something, or I'll delay that call. If I can manage that call, it's not a pressing thing, I'll request the customer to reschedule the call, or put it sometime later. So it's inseparable. Everything happens. uh, it happens. So for example, I'm traveling in the morning tomorrow. I have scheduled a call which assumption is that as soon as I reach here, the destination, I have half an hour, and then I'll get on to two or three calls, and then again back to the family engagement, right? So I don't think there is a separation. Yeah, what I intentionally try to do is, at the end of the day, let's say I generally end my day at 10 or 11 p.m. at night.
Hmm.
After that I try that I don't give, I am cut from my laptop and phone. Same happens in the morning. As soon as I wake up, I check my phone, not the social media, but my emails, that nothing urgent has come. After
Hmm.
that, I put everything aside, spend 1 2 hours with me, doing some exercises, yoga, etc. But that
Hmm.
is the only me time where it's only me time. Enthu is not there. But otherwise, it's Enthu personal. It keeps juggling. And I think I'm no unique. Everything does, like every entrepreneur has the same story. If I have to say so.
Okay, but most of the times, what I get to hear this, like whenever I read some some journey, startup journey, what people usually say, or they try to maybe project that way, is that we try to keep our professional and personal life separate.
Right.
Uh, but I guess with
Nice.
startups, this is not possible.
I
You have
think,
to carry
yeah,
on with.
I don't have that luxury right now. We are still in early stage, right? I can't compromise with my personal, engagements. Neither I can compromise with Enthu. It's all about juggling. Anything can pop up at any time. I have to juggle, right? That's why it's a difficult journey.
Of course, starting startup
Yeah.
is definitely
Maybe
a.
that, this luxury comes when you have a better team, you have more people, right? You have dedicated people to handle. So what I'm doing right now, most of my time goes in talking to customers. Either it's a support thing or a sales thing or something else, right? Partnership things, right? If I have a team, as I scale, there will be people who will be taking these things. My involvement will reduce. I'll be taking part in more strategic areas. So I think with time, the journey is going to be same, where I will probably 3-4 years down the line, I'll also say that I have a separate personal and a separate professional time, but not at the moment. I can't think of it right now, and I don't want it. I'm fine the way it is going. I am managing it well. I at least I think so, right? Without lot of stress, without lot of anxiety, I am managing it. So I don't have an issue.
Perfect. Then if it's working for you, then it's working for everyone else,
Yeah.
I guess.
I think the
uh
problem is when stress levels go high. There are situations, I
yeah,
won't deny, but I try to
yeah.
maintain. And again, stress and anxiety, it's in your mind, right? If you manage a situation, if you respond to a situation rather than reacting, so you
Hmm.
can manage this situation really well. So this is again one thing which I have realized over time. Earlier I used to get anxious. Now it's like, okay, things are manageable. Issue is there, that fine, we will resolve the issue, we will set the expectations right, we'll pass through it. So what? So that
Yeah.
feeling has sink in.
I think this comes with time when
Yeah.
you are starting something. I guess it is for with everyone that you feel nervous, you feel
Yeah.
anxious.
Yeah.
But once you have started that journey, you just get comfortable with the challenges and obstacles,
Yeah.
and you have a future ahead of you. You have goals set and the milestones to be reached.
Right.
So for N2 and for you personally, I would like to ask what future looks like. What are the things that you would like to do in future, and what are the key trends or key things that we can see with N2 in
Okay.
coming years?
So yeah, the vision is that we want to build, so we want to help contact centers improve the quality of their conversations, right? When I say conversations, these can be phone, chat, or let's say tomorrow some another new form of conversation comes, I don't know, right? So
Hmm.
right now we are only catering to the voice phenomena, right?
Okay.
We are working with some pilot clients where we have started doing the chats as well. So chat is the same process. You initiate a chat with a company. The agent first does a salutation. He asks you a couple of questions, right? Then he starts giving you solutions and you do something, right? So it's chat QA is also a big area. As I said, 53% of conversations in US, they are chat based. Okay. This is
Hmm.
one thing where we want to get into. Again, it's not bots I'm talking about. I'm talking about queuing of your chats and giving, or rather surfacing out opportunities for your chat agents, how they can improve, how they can sell better, how they can support their customers better, right? Eventually what we have realized is that as we are talking to our customers, as we are talking to more and more customers, trying to understand how we can help them improve revenue, save costs, a very, it's not still formalized, but maybe something around CRM for call centers.
Hmm.
It's just a we haven't formalized it. It's just a very vague vision where we see a lot of, especially SMB contact centers, where they want to have a CRM where these things are in place, VoIP, conversation AI, contact management, XYZ things, but it's not there in the market. There are a couple of players, but again, it's an enterprise play, very costly, right? You have to commit to a annual plan and you need to have at least a couple of $1,000 to get started. So maybe a CRM, I'm not sure, but yeah, as of now, we are totally focused on conversations. But next thing can be a CRM for contact centers, for support teams. I don't know.
That's really nice to know that there are so many opportunities lying ahead and you would like to
Yeah.
explore all of them. And I wish really success to you.
Yeah.
Now coming to some personal questions, this
Yeah.
is my favorite part. If I'll continue the series, this is the favorite part that I
And I think
really
this must be the toughest part for the entrepreneur. I have been asked these personal questions before, and you these
no.
need a lot of thinking. Yeah. Still, let's
Those
see.
are very simple questions. I'm not going to ask, very detail about your personal life. But yes, I'm just curious that how the new entrepreneurs they do spend their time when they're free. If you're not working, then what?
Okay, I am a reading buff, right? I read a lot of books.
Oh,
So
me
I
too.
used to read non-fiction, but so when we started Enthu, I didn't know how to sell, right?
Hmm.
I learned sales by reading books.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a very good book by the name of Spin Selling. If you are into consultative selling, you should read
Huh,
this book, right? Spin Selling. Then, if you want to learn about demand generation, so you should read Predictable Revenue. So
huh.
I read all these books. I think at least I read 10 sales books, and that was my time, my free time. That was how I used to spend it, right? Then I also listen to books on Audible. So that is one thing. Now I have started to listening to a lot of other areas like psychology, economics, etc. But earlier I was focused on only self development, right? That is one thing which I used to do. I also do gardening. So I love gardening. I would say gardening is something very similar to entrepreneurship.
Yes.
You sow the seed, nothing happens, and you get into anxiety. Why this little, this little seed is not coming out? And one fine day a shoot comes, then it converts into an entire branch, and not a branch, but a plant, and then it grows, and you wait for 2 months, 3 months for you have to take a lot of good care, right? So
Yes.
eventually it will bloom, the flowers will come. Since I am based out of a city, the
Huh,
flora is there, but fauna is not there, right? So there is no
huh,
carrier for the pollen, right? So this I
huh.
learned, that either I have to do something, right? So there has to be artificial pollination, or I need to get butterflies, bees into my kitchen garden, right? So for that I did something, and then you're for 2 3 months nothing happens, no fruit. And now the fruit is so much. So when I say I am into vegetable growing, I don't grow fruits, but I grow vegetables. Now there are
Mhm.
so many vegetables that almost 90% of the produce I just distribute between my friends and family. So I have relatives here, I have neighbors, I just give it to them, right? So so it gives me a lot of satisfaction when you grow something, and you're tasting your what you have grown. So that gives me a lot of satisfaction. And
The flavors of the efforts that you have put in.
yeah, that's a very, yeah, thanks for putting it in the right words. The flavor of your effort, right? It's very delicious,
I
both
agree.
both literally and figuratively. So by the way, I'm growing organic, right? No chemicals,
Yeah,
nothing. So everything is organic,
yeah.
and I'm just trying to. So again, it's a journey, like entrepreneurship. When I started, I knew nothing about gardening. Down the
Oh,
line, I got to know that, okay, there is something like uh, uh, what we say vermicompost. There are things like, handmade compost. Then what I need to do, there are a lot of home remedies, which farmers use who grow
yes,
organically, which we never
yes,
knew about, right? So
yes.
started all those experiments, starting planting your plants. So in one season I plant them at a specific place, in the next season I plant them at a different place. I try it out, that whether I can get more fruit. So a lot of experimentations, and I just love it. And I think it
I
gives,
can.
yeah,
Yes, please continue.
I think it gives you a kick similar to what you experience in entrepreneurship.
I can relate to with you on this because even I started gardening when I got pregnant. And that was the time when I had nothing to do, and I was advised to rest, take rest. And I thought, okay, when I'm not doing anything, let's start gardening.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, many of my plants, they died prematurely, and it was maybe my fault that I wasn't able
Okay.
to take care of them properly.
I
But
think.
now, yes, I research a lot when
Yeah.
I'm buying any new plant or any new seed. I research a lot about it,
Yeah.
whether the season is right, and
Right.
whether I will be able to take care of it. If it's very high maintenance plant, then maybe it's not my cup of tea. So yes, these things are quite relatable to me, because I
Correct.
have started gardening, but
Yeah.
not very much into it, but some sort of it.
Yeah, maybe we can connect offline and share learnings. So
Yes.
I'll tell you one thing. So it's a research, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not a research, it's a psychology paper. Right? It
Huh.
says that, and it's right. We as humans, we are not meant to sit on computers and work, right? We are
Exactly.
supposed to get our hands dirty. That's your brain triggers certain hormones when you get your hands dirty. Right. So that's why gardening gives you a lot of, it's a stress buster. It releases a lot of positive hormones, good hormones, and it's an activity which you should do, right? It makes you happy because that's you get to your natural self, you get close to your natural self, right? We are meant to get dirty, we are meant to get our hands dirty, grow things, right, rather than sitting on computers the whole day and typing stuff.
Absolutely. And what I feel after just maintaining my balcony garden is that I'm close to nature. That is one thing
Yeah.
that happens with everyone. But then I don't feel dirty when my hands are
Yes.
already in mud, and the water is
Yeah.
dripping from those area of my fingers. But then also I
It's
don't feel
it feels
dirty.
like an inspiration, not not
Exactly.
getting dirty. In fact, my 3-year-old, so she's 3.5 now, she I have introduced her to gardening, right? In the morning sometimes I feel lazy, but she says that let's go and water the plants. She wakes me up and pushes me out of the bed so that we go and water the plants. So I think that is very natural. Gardening is something which comes which triggers something natural inside you. I don't know what, but it does.
I can totally relate to you. It's difficult to put in words, but
Yeah.
yes, you feel that, and this
Yeah.
that feeling is quite different,
Right.
and it's amazing. Yes, so I'm really glad that we connected on this,
Yeah.
because we can just take this conversation offline and we can discuss these things
Yeah.
more. I'm
Definitely.
really very excited about this actually.
Yeah.
Lastly, I would like to know that your dream vacation, matlab, like you have
Uh,
been working quite long, and the COVID has also happened. It just took off the traveling plans from everywhere, from everyone's calendar. So if
uh,
you got a chance,
never thought about it. If I have to think, maybe
still,
I love beaches. So around a beach, right? I don't know the location. I love Goa. I maybe Goa. I would prefer to stay in the country, right?
uh,
Goa, a beachside, 5-star property, spending time idling and just dipping in the sea and getting back and then again dipping in the sea. So I want a vacation. I'm an adventurous person, right? But now I'm looking at a vacation where I don't do any adventure. I just go and sit, relax, right, and do nothing. I want to try it out at how doing nothing for a couple of days, how does it feel? I want to get that how we call that.
you
Maybe
want
you
to
can
get that.
you can help me put it in the right words. I want to slow down, right? I want to see how slowing down. I want a vacation that gives me an experience of slowing down, because I have already fastening up is already too much in my life.
I guess that's with most of the entrepreneurs, because every time they have to sit in the conference room, or they have to plan their next week, their life is running in like the next thing. What's the
Yeah.
next thing? And because of that, maybe sometimes you guys just miss out the present opportunities, life
Yeah.
opportunities. I would say, not the business opportunities, of course. Yes, even I would look forward to visiting some beaches, but maybe I don't know when it will happen. I'm just
Good luck
keeping
for
my
that.
fingers crossed.
Yeah, good luck for that.
It should happen soon. I have not been out for like 2 years now, so
Okay.
yes, it's quite depressing sitting at home and
Yep.
just visualizing those places at your laptop only.
Yep.
All right. One thing which with which I would like to conclude is that what will be your words to the budding entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs, those who have failed but they want to start again? So one lesson or the things that you would like to share with them.
I would say for the second set, those who have failed and starting. So in entrepreneurship, there is no such thing as failure, right? Failure is in your mind. It's about learning. So take learnings from your first experience. I never say I failed in my first startup, right? I say it didn't work, and that's fine. I was not lucky, right? So I put that on luck, right? I take learning from your startup which didn't fail, right? And try to adopt that. It's better. Yeah, perishing is to perish is a bad thing, right? Pivoting is not a bad thing. Take learnings, move to the next one, and start afresh. It's never late, right? What you do next, I would say a lot of people make this mistake, focusing on the product. I already talked about it. Focus
Yes,
on sales
exactly.
and marketing right from day one, right? We invested in our SEO. Again, that happened because I come from a digital marketing background. We invested in our SEO for the first 3 months. For the next 3 months, nothing happened, right? But after that, most of our leads, they were generated from SEO, right? They were from organic traffic, right? So start building on your sales and marketing efforts right from day one. Nothing is going to happen in a week or a month or 3 months, but it's all a snowball effect. Keep doing the same things again and again, and one fine day things snowball, and and then you can relate. You see in hindsight that this thing happened because I have been doing all this stuff, right? That is your moment of truth. So go to your moment of truth. Spend some time experimenting. Don't give up easily. Spend some time and then make a conscious decision of giving up, right? Whether it's an experiment or it's entrepreneurship, have a conscious decision, but spend some time experimenting.
I have noted down that for myself as well. I'll just keep that in mind for my Captain's Tale as well, as it is a new platform and we are just still in the revamping state. We revamped our website, but
Right.
this is one thing which I'm going to keep in mind for long.
Sure.
So
Great.
Tushar, thanks for giving me this opportunity. It was really very interesting to learn about your entrepreneurship journey and your venture into.ai and even your previous business with which you've got so many learning lessons. And I look forward to more conversations beyond this call, and I really hope that into.ai just moves forward and touches the sky.
Sure.
Thank you.
Definitely, Ria. It was a pleasure to connect with you, and I really enjoyed my conversation. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you.